The recently signed military agreement between Somalia and Egypt has now begun to be implemented. This is why 2 Egyptian military planes landed in Mogadishu, Somalia's capital, carrying military generals and weapons. Ali Abdi Aware, the Somali ambassador to Egypt, stated that this move is being made in preparation for the new peacekeeping mission, which will replace the African Union Transitional Mission in Somalia, ATMIS, starting from January 2025. Additionally, the new peacekeeping mission plans to deploy 10,000 Egyptian troops to Somalia in phases. The arrival of the Egyptian military in Somalia has not been welcomed by Ethiopia. Because of the great Renaissance dam that Ethiopia is building on the Nile River, because of the agreement it made with Somaliland, which has declared itself as an independent country and has not received international recognition, to have a naval station put Ethiopia in diplomatic tension with Egypt and Somalia. The deployment of Egyptian troops is seen as a potential warning to Ethiopia, further raising tensions in the Horn of Africa. Though Egypt has not made an official statement regarding the military generals and weapons that arrived at Mogadishu airport, some observers view it as a direct message to Ethiopia, suggesting an escalation of tensions in the region. Others argue that Egypt's military involvement in Somalia could also be part of its foreign policy strategy aimed at gaining Somalia's support in the Red Sea region, particularly in protecting its national interests. This growing partnership between Egypt and Somalia has also drawn attention to the roles of Turkey and the United Arab Emirates, both of which have vested interests in the Horn of Africa. In recent years, Egypt has shown increased interest in expanding its military and security cooperation with several African countries. Egypt's negotiations with Ethiopia on the Renaissance Dam have yet to yield significant results, and its influence on the Sudan conflict has not been as impactful as hoped. Additionally, increasing attacks by Yemen's Houthis in the Red Sea have prompted Egypt to reconsider its foreign policy to better protect its interests in the region. Egypt's new alliances include Uganda, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Cameroon, Kenya, South Sudan, the Central African Republic, Djibouti, Eritrea, Tanzania, Somalia, and Nigeria. Egypt's involvement in Somalia might be a response to Ethiopia's agreement with Somaliland to gain access to the Gulf of Aden through a sea gate. This development, viewed by Ethiopia as a crucial naval access point, may raise concerns in Egypt, especially about its trade route via the Suez Canal, which is a major source of income for the country. In January of last year, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, during a press conference with Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, made it clear that Egypt would not allow any threat to Somalia's security. Many saw this as a message aimed at Ethiopia. Since then, diplomatic relations between Egypt and Somalia have grown, with direct flights now connecting Cairo to Mogadishu and Egypt reopening its embassy in Somalia. Additionally, the 2 countries signed a military agreement during the Somali president's second visit to Cairo. Ethiopia has raised concerns about Somalia's increasing military cooperation with Egypt and other foreign powers. Following the reports of 2 Egyptian military planes landing in Mogadishu, Ethiopia accused the Somali government of working with external forces that aim to destabilize the region. The Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a statement condemning such actions, saying they undermine Ethiopia's efforts to promote peace and security in Somalia and the broader region. The ministry also expressed concerns about the structure of the new peacekeeping mission that will replace ATMIS, citing potential threats to the stability of the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia has been a major contributor of troops to ATMIS for many years and played a key role in stabilizing Somalia. However, with ATMIS set to end in January, some experts suggest that Ethiopia may choose to maintain a military presence in Somalia outside the new peacekeeping framework to protect its own interests. The deployment of Egyptian troops has also alarmed Somaliland, which has voiced concerns that Egypt's military presence could destabilize the region. Somaliland's Ministry of Foreign Affairs released a statement expressing its worries about the peace and security of Somalia and the broader Horn of Africa. Meanwhile, some Somali members of parliament, particularly from the southwest region, have voiced opposition to Egypt's involvement in Somalia. Demonstrations in the southwest region's Hudur town have expressed support for the Ethiopian troops currently stationed in Somalia under ATMIS, and rejected the presence of Egyptian soldiers in the new peacekeeping mission. Amid growing tensions, Ethiopia has strengthened its ties with Somaliland, recently appointing Shunde Hamito as its ambassador to the Somaliland consulate. This move is expected to further deepen diplomatic relations between Ethiopia and Somaliland. Egypt's primary goal in the Horn of Africa is to safeguard its national interests in the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. The country also aims to maintain positive relations with Nile Basin countries and neighboring states to secure its share of Nile water. Ethiopia, having signed a trade transit and naval agreement with Somaliland, may soon play a significant role in the Red Sea region, which could challenge Egypt's dominance. Egyptian media outlets, such as Al Ahram, have framed Egypt's growing relationship with Somalia as a natural progression of their historical ties. Egyptian officials have also emphasized the importance of the Red Sea for Egypt's economy, especially considering that Egypt has reportedly lost 50% of its revenue from the Suez Canal, amounting to around $5 billion. National security analysts in Egypt argue that their country's strategy in the Horn of Africa is aimed at preventing threats to its national security, with particular attention to separatism, international competition, and tensions in the southern Red Sea. While many Ethiopians believe Egypt's actions are motivated by self-defense, others, like Yassin Ahmed, president of Ethiopian Public Diplomacy, have suggested that Egypt's real goal is to expand its security role in the region and compete with Ethiopia for influence. As tensions rise, political analysts are warning that Egypt's involvement in Somalia could escalate into a direct or indirect conflict in the region, with Ethiopia and other players responding accordingly. Somalia's Prime Minister has warned Ethiopia that if it does not cancel its Memorandum of Understanding with Somaliland, Ethiopian troops stationed in Somalia under ATMIS and bilateral agreements will be forced to leave. Ethiopia currently has around 3,000 troops deployed under ATMIS and up to 7,000 more under its bilateral agreement with Somalia. Despite these warnings, some analysts believe that Ethiopia might still maintain a military presence in Somalia to protect its interests. According to those closely following Somali politics, Ethiopia has various options to maintain its military presence in Somalia, even without the ATMIS agreement. For instance, Ethiopia has the support of Somalia's southwest province, one of the 6 federal states of Somalia, which has previously expressed approval of Ethiopian troops in the region. Similarly, Puntland, another Somali federal state, has been aligned with Somalia's president, which could be used to Ethiopia's advantage. There are growing fears that Egypt's deployment of troops in Somalia will intensify regional tensions, potentially triggering direct or indirect conflict. Other regional actors, such as Turkey and the UAE, are also increasingly involved in the Horn of Africa. Turkey has signed a multilateral agreement with Somalia, allowing it to work in the defense and security sectors. At the same time, it has maintained good relations with Egypt, and some analysts believe Turkey could play a mediating role to ease tensions between Ethiopia and Somalia. In recent years, Turkey has established a military base at the port of Suat in Sudan and signed an agreement with Egypt to build an industrial zone along the Suez Canal. The UAE, which has built strong ties with Ethiopia, is also expanding its influence in the region. Some analysts suggest that the UAE views Ethiopia as a strategic gateway to Africa, and it may use this relationship to increase its control over key maritime routes such as the Bab al-Mandab Strait. However, Egypt views the UAE's growing relationship with Ethiopia with suspicion, further complicating an already tense situation.